Hi, thank you for joining us on Vegas Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show. And I'm Trish Williams.
And I'm Tiana Carroll. Welcome back, you guys.
Yeah, and we are here again, almost to the end of another month. So this
Yep,
is
time keeps ticking into the future, kiddos.
yeah. Not really much big news. I know we've been talking about Spaceport a little bit. I seen a rendering.
Oh, I've seen some renderings. It's cool.
Yeah. So I was last night, I was looking at a map for where this is going to be
Okay.
and found an address that I was able to locate of the proposed location. So I plan on visiting that hopefully this weekend to see what it looks like around out there.
Yeah, see
Yeah.
if anything's happening.
See
What's
if
going
anything's
on?
happening.
Maybe little aliens are out there building it.
Yeah,
Probably
maybe.
not.
But looks like there's some good deals on dirt around the area, so that might
Yeah.
be something to look into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And our dirt is selling all over the state.
yeah. Nothing big on rates; those seem to be staying the same.
Yeah, they took a little bit of a dip and then they're holding there, which is cool. Yesterday, the the Veterans Affairs did signal that there's going to be a temporary suspension of the ban on being able to pay for a buyer's agent if you're using a VA loan. They don't want their veterans to be at a deficit with this NAR ruling. So they're now allowing veterans temporarily to pay for their own buyer agent, which I don't know how that's going to transition. But if there is a buyer, or if there's a seller who is not willing to contribute to a VA seller, then the VA buyer, then the VA buyer will have the option to pay for their own agent,
Yeah.
which historically they haven't been able to.
Right, and this. Of course, everything isn't officially in effect yet, but a lot of
Right.
people have started the new practices, and so far, sellers are still paying buyers agents concessions in in most part. There's sometimes where we see them where they're not, but we've always seen that.
Right. And, I keep trying to explain to people, like, in reality, they're just asking us to take the co-op box out of the MLS. A list agent can still take a 6, 7, 8% listing. And if they choose to split their commissions, they can split their commission, period. Into
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, so the list agents negotiate the listing fee at the listing table when they take the listing.
Yep.
That's their fee, and if a portion of that fee they are choosing to pay to the agent, that is definitely their call, and that's how we're going to be operating. So
Yeah.
and it's going to be fine. It's not as crazy and backwards as reports have been saying it's going to be. And I still get a lot of people that are listening and reading misinformation.
Even agents, I must get at least 5 to 10 texts or emails a week saying, "Are you nervous about the upcoming changes? Come to my brokerage and let me talk to you about it." Or, "We have a class about this," or, "We're teaching you about that." And it feels like fear mongering to me. Like,
It is
you
fear
guys,
mongering.
you
Panic
guys,
sells.
right? We're just helping people facilitate a deal. We can make this happen. We can advocate for them. We can definitely advocate for ourselves. It all seems like it's going to work out fine in the wash.
Yeah, and I had a brokerage reach out to me too, and they were like, "Is your brokerage supporting you with all the new changes that are going on and helping you navigate through this?" And I'm like,
Yeah, all the time.
Are we serious? Like right now, is this? I don't. I don't understand, and I don't like that strategy
Yeah.
of like trying to panic you and make you scared, and just I don't know. It to me it seems unprofessional.
Yeah. I was talking to my girlfriend about this, and I was basically saying, like, because she's worried, she's like, "Oh, what's going to happen with your business and this?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "All of this stuff that's going on in the news." And she's not in real estate, so of course she's getting her clickbait news and her version of it. And I just have to laugh at it. And I'm like, it's really different when you're actually in the business and you know how it really works. Like, okay, so we took away the little co-op box, but we're still doing business, and we're still continuing to do business, and we will in the future because that's just what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
People buy and sell. It's a $1 trillion industry. It's not going to stop because they took away a co-op box.
Yeah. And that's not going to make people not need to own their own homes.
Right.
Not want to own their own homes.
Right.
And not want a professional to navigate them through it. I mean, even when it comes to, I don't know, simple stuff. You know, when you have simple stuff, you want the professional that knows how to do that task and that knows that industry and that area to navigate you through what needs to be done, because we are in such a busy world and such a busy life. I don't want to learn another trade or another industry
Right.
to complete a transaction through it. I want a professional that knows what they're doing, that knows what's going on, and that can help me through this to where it's going to make my life as easy as possible. And that's not going to change.
Yeah, that's not going to change. I got a girlfriend who is a real estate lawyer in a real estate lawyer state, so you need a lawyer at the table. And when she bought her house, she used a realtor, and she's like, I don't know why anybody wouldn't, even I don't want to do somebody else's job. I don't want to learn somebody else's job.
Yeah. And
So-
I have clients that are attorneys. I've a few clients that are attorneys. And, you know, we all know attorneys are well versed in contracts and
Yep.
everything like that.
I've
and
seen one or two of them.
Yeah, and you would think that, you know, if anybody would say like, oh, I don't need a realtor, it may be an attorney. But
Right.
the attorneys are also very intelligent and also know that they want a professional in
Yep,
the industry
yep.
to help represent them and to help look out for their best interest, because that is not their industry.
That's right. That's
So-
not within their scope. So
Right.
I completely agree with all of that. So I think we got into the news a little bit, but we didn't. We just bypassed numbers completely. Should we do those?
Absolutely. So for our single family inventory, last week I was concerned that it might be raising, but we're right around the same as we were last
Yeah,
week.
it's ticking up to that 3,600 mark. So today we're at 3,584 active single family homes in the valley for
Yep.
sale.
Yeah, and sold we have 456.
We
So
do.
not a bad number. Price reductions a little bit down since last week at 457.
Yeah, those numbers are almost identical. The sold and the price reductions, one number apart.
Yeah,
And then our under contracts are solid,
Yeah.
621.
yeah, not bad, not bad. So
All in all, a good week in Vegas.
it is a good week in real estate, good week in Vegas. We have some listener questions for today, so I
we
guess
do.
we'll roll right into those.
From one thing right to the other.
That's what we do here.
These should be pretty easy. These are, I mean, not that there's harder, easy questions, but these are pretty straightforward. What's going on? What do we got?
So we'll start with Jesse.
All right, Jesse.
Jesse said his neighbor's home is foreclosed. It's up for auction at a very low price. Is that going to affect my home value?
Well, Jesse, yes, it is. But here's the thing with foreclosures can really affect home value, if there's a lot of them going on.
Yes.
Right. So if you had like 10 in your neighborhood, then that would definitely be a contributing factor. And when the home does sell, it is going to be used for at least 180 days in comps for the sale of other homes in the property. But foreclosures, they really go at market price. It's
Yeah.
not like just because it's in foreclosure, you're going to get it $100,000 under market value. That's never going to happen. Not in this market.
Right. And you need to not be concerned about the price that it's up for auction for, because the auctions work. And I hate to say like eBay, because it's totally not like eBay, but similar, you know, like, you know how sometimes you'll see an item on eBay that's listed at like $1, and you know dang well that's not going to sell for $1.
Yeah, I just had something similar, like on a Facebook marketplace. Something was advertised for $50 and it should have been let's say $250, but then you go through it and it's basically a furniture company and selling multiple of those beds, and they're just trying to lure you in. And that's
Yeah.
what that auction is. Like,
Well-
hey, we got this. Who wants to play?
They price it low to attract multiple bidders.
Yep.
And the multiple bidders will essentially and eventually bid up to, and sometimes even above.
Above. I've seen it
market
go
value.
above. I've seen it go above.
It's a mindset, a strategy. It's one of those things that we can't often. It's a hard thing and a scary thing to get sellers on board with when we're talking about listing, but it does work. Where you price the home under market value.
One of my favorite strategies. It
Yeah.
works every time like a charm.
And you end up selling it in most cases more than you would have sold it for if you would have priced it right at market value.
Right.
Because it attracts all this attention. And the beauty of attracting all that attention is that you get lines of showings out the doors,
Right.
people flooding and flocking to the house. And it's a mindset. When buyers come to a house and they see all these other buyers wanting this house, or they see all these other people that are offering
Just
it.
cars in front of an open house will change how that open house goes.
Yes, it makes them want it more. Makes them raise the price that they're offering
Yep.
because they want to compete. They want to be the winner. They want to. There are buyers that say, oh, no, other people are bidding. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Right.
And there's also the majority or more of a percentage of buyers who see that activity and want to compete, want to raise their price, want
Right.
to jump in the game.
Well,
and
because it
bid
gives
up.
that air of desirability, and they're like, "Oh, everybody wants it. I want it too," and they jump in the market. It is a great selling strategy. I always shake my head because it is a very natural instinct for sellers to want to list it above the market price, and it is hard for them to wrap their head around. Like, if you just come just a hair under market value, you were going to see more action. You're going to get multiple offers. You could have a bidding war. You could sell probably close to or more than what you intended to overprice your listing for anyway.
Yeah.
Because competition, baby.
Competition, yes, and again, pricing it higher just makes it pricing it above market value makes it look too expensive,
Right.
and pricing it below makes it look like a deal.
Right.
So yeah, that will essentially have the better result when pricing it lower. So that's one thing with the foreclosure. If you're seeing an auction at a very low price, I would not let that concern you. The sold price is what's going to matter.
The sold price is what they're going to use for the comps, and ultimately that's going to be what affects property value. And in a market where the supply and demand is low, those foreclosures are not going to be going low. They're going to be investors and people out there who are going to try and bid up and get foreclosed homes.
Right. And in the scenario where it did sell under value, just say it was extremely distressed and it did sell under market value. An appraiser, when they're looking at comparables in a neighborhood, when they're looking at comps, any homes that's listed distressed as an REO, which is real estate owned foreclosure, or a short sale or something of that sort, will always be marked on the MLS on the closing. There's a condition status that's marked on it.
And that's on all sales.
Yeah, on all sales.
Yeah,
yes.
It doesn't matter if it's foreclosed or not. There's always a condition.
Yeah, condition status and and if it's distressed or not, that will be labeled on the sale. So when the appraiser is comparing or looking at comparables and looking at sales in the neighborhood, and they see this one sold under what all of the other homes are selling under, or what the current market value is stating, they're going to see that it's distressed, and most times they will take that into consideration, that your home is
absolutely.
not distressed, that home was distressed, or that home is in a lot poorer condition than your home is. So they will take that factor into consideration when coming up with value. So I wouldn't be concerned, Jesse. I wouldn't let that panic you or anything like that. I don't think that we're in a scenario where that should be any factor at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough foreclosures on the market to determine that. There is a certain market condition, like if you were flooded with foreclosures and there was physical deterioration deterioration and the outlook of the neighborhood looks like it's being perceived as declining or something, then of course that would change it. But that is not the condition that we're in right now.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, multiple foreclosures, multiple distressed homes that are lower in value, and a flood of a lot of inventory will drive prices down, but we're not in that environment.
We're not in that environment. Yeah, the few sprinkled foreclosures throughout the valley are not going to make the whole area seem like it's in decline. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So moving on to Veronica.
Okay, Veronica says, my son is a veteran and eligible for a VA loan. Can I co-sign on his purchase so he can get pre-approved for a higher amount?
That is no, unless you are a veteran also.
Right. Yep. If you're a veteran, if you're living in the home, if you're a spouse, then those are ways that you can co-sign on that VA loan. But
Yeah, but a child of a veteran is, or a parent of a veteran is not eligible unless they themselves are a veteran as well.
correct.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that would not work. You still have, you could go conventional, you could go into another loan type. VA loans tend to have better interest rates, and of course, the zero down is very attractive.
The zero down is definitely a golden highlight for that VA loan.
Yeah, but yeah, co-signing for a veteran, unless you're an eligible spouse or another veteran,
Right.
is not a possibility. So unfortunately, Veronica, that is no.
Yeah, and we usually don't have a lot of questions that are hard no's. No, that can't happen, but this happens to be one of them.
It absolutely does. I know there's not much commentary on that other than it's not possible.
Well, I think in general, the 3 questions this week were pretty straightforward, that we didn't have to worry about it. So yeah, those VA eligible loans, if you are a veteran or you have a spouse living with you, then of course they can be a part of it, but not mom from a distance.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, Veronica.
yeah, sorry. And thank you for your service to your son.
Thank your son for us.
Yes. Lisa wants to know, what are the differences between staging and virtual staging?
Staging and virtual staging. Well, they are both powerful tools in marketing. That is for
Absolutely.
sure. And they both are beneficial in many ways. But the simple difference is that when you're having your home staged, you're trying to put the best foot forward, right? It's going to be this sort of pageant of homes. You want the home to be shown in the best light possible, like a model home. So they come in, they stage, they're good with proportions and color, making sure everything fits. Basically, virtual staging is a digital overlay of furniture and stuff on a picture of an empty house. So when you're flipping through the MLS, you might see a picture of the living room empty, and next to it you'll see a virtual stage where they've gone ahead and added some furniture to the digital image. And
Yes. And our MLS does have a requirement when a home is virtually staged.
they gotta
It does
tell us.
have to be labeled at the top of the photo or somewhere on the photo that this home is virtually staged. So it's not misconceiving in any type of way.
Right. Well, and it can be, because I've seen like a very clear example of a virtual stage that was deceiving, if you will, was they showed a picture of a living room, and in the living room there was a ceiling fan. But when you went to the home, there was no ceiling fan. They had digitally put one in, but there's no
Oh.
electrical right there in the ceiling, so no hookup to put a ceiling fan.
Oh,
And so it was
that's ridiculous.
It was very deceptive.
Yeah.
And so they say virtually staged, and that's sort of their loophole. Like, oh,
Yeah.
we didn't mean to deceive you. Whoops.
I feel like if you're going to have, because I do virtual staging often on listings.
Because they're great.
Yeah, it is a great tool, especially in an empty room, so you can see the space of the room. But I usually, when I submit my request for the stager to do the stuff, it's furniture only, because of course I'm not going to add a ceiling fan to a home that doesn't have one.
Right.
That's silly.
Or can you imagine a digital window?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
that's not a window.
we don't
y'all.
want to change the house. And I also put in the request, make sure that the furnishings fit the space.
Right.
Like I don't want them to have like an enormous amount of furniture in a 10 by 10 room, because we all know it won't fit.
Right.
Unless
It'll look
it's
crowded.
miniature. Yeah. So the staging can do that by adding like miniature versions of furniture all around. But in my opinion, those are not great virtual stagers that do that, because we're trying to sell a product that is realistic
Right.
and reasonable. So yes, and I have seen on listings, which I get very, I guess, angry. I hate to say angry, but it upsets me when I see this because it's so misleading.
Oh, this ought to be good. What is
I
this?
seen there was this one luxury home that was listed at one point in time, and it was a resale of a blue heron home. The home was absolutely stunning.
As blue herons are.
Yes, and the backyard was just like this amazing backyard paradise, right?
Did they virtually stage the backyard with plants and stuff?
With a pool. They added.
Okay,
and
so
I'm
that's
looking
way
at
worse
the-
than my ceiling fan story.
Right. I'm looking at the listing and I'm like, it says no pool, but
There's a pool
this is
here.
a beautiful pool, and it had like the vanishing edge. It was amazing, and it
So-
was before our rule came in place where you had to know it was virtually staged.
Right.
So I was so confused, but I told my clients, like, let's go out and look, because like this pool, it has.
There's a photo of it right here, y'all.
Maybe they just listed it wrong, and we went out there, and it was. Not only was it not the backyard paradise it looked like, but it was dirt.
Yeah.
It was just dirt, like completely unfinished backyard. And then there was like an additional like feature sheet add-on that was in the MLS documents, and in the MLS documents it said there, virtual rendering of what it would look like with a pool. And I'm
Right.
like, are you
I was going to say,
serious?
I see things like that in builders, right? When they do the virtual rendering,
Right.
you have the potential to have this amazing backyard. You have the potential to have this great pool. It's not actually part of it. So I love staging or virtual staging for two reasons. Because A, most people do all of their buying online, and if it looks appealing online, then you can get them to the door. But I also like when you get them inside the door, when there's no furniture there because it's all virtual on the picture, that you get to see the space and it's open and grand, and people like buying empty houses.
Yes, absolutely. But going to actual staging, actual staging is extremely effective.
It's extremely effective. Every builder in town and across the country uses staging when they put their models together, because the more alluring you can make that house look, the more people want to live there. They want to picture themselves there. They're like, oh, this is beautiful. This is my space.
Yeah, it's creating the space, the lifestyle, everything that goes in the space. And some sellers have pushback on actual staging because it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
It will be, a few $1,000s a month. Some stagers will
Right,
offer you
because
a
you're
month
renting that
free.
furniture.
Yeah, some stagers will offer you like the 1 month free if you do 2 months up front, or things like that. And the days on market are actually a lot lower on staged homes.
Yeah, that's been proven.
Yeah, it's a
Homes
fact.
that are staged sell quicker and for more money.
Yeah, so you do get a return on the investment, and I've had some homes that were quite outdated that needed, rather than doing a complete renovation, they, we had employed a stager to come in and stage the property. The sellers had agreed on this, and we had, put together staging, and it made it show better and sell faster than
Yep.
it would have by just having just like an outdated home, too much carpet, too much everything. So it can serve its purpose of doing that. There are more upfront expenses, and it really does have its payback.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate, especially in higher price points, for staging,
Yeah,
because I think it's definitely beneficial.
yeah, but staging it's not only for luxury.
No,
I've had condos staged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just cute, presentable, defined space, and stagers have usually a great eye for proportion and scale. A lot of times people, and I'm guilty of it myself, having some furniture that might be too big for a space or not big enough for a space, and they come in and they just make it look just right.
Yeah, they just have that skill. Like just, I don't have I haven't had an interior designer design my home. I'm still considering.
Like, I might do it.
I might do, because again, it's that we can design our own home and we can put our own stuff, what we like or what we feel, but there is something to it when you walk in a home that an interior designer has done,
Right.
that just has that like era of Oh my gosh, I love
It's just
everything.
put together, right?
Yeah.
There's layers of texture, and they're bringing in layers of light with table lamps and all sorts of things. So having a designer, an interior designer come in and do your home personally, amazing. But if you're just going to have somebody come in and do staging, it is just as effective for the sale process.
Yeah, and it is actually more effective than virtual staging. But if you are, again, cost conscious because of the upfront fees for the actual staging, virtual staging is a very good alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've gotten so much better. When virtual staging first came out, you could spot it a mile away. But much like AI, it just keeps getting better and better to sometimes you're clicking through the pictures and you're like, wait, they've shown this couch in 3 different angles and it looks like it's an actual couch, but it's not. It's just a digital overlay.
Yeah, it has gotten better, and there's some companies out there that are better than others.
Yeah, those are, well, that's with everything, right?
Yeah, there's some that are just like, whoa, are you serious right now? This looks like a cartoon.
Right.
But there's some that have really better quality of the virtual staging, so that's good.
Yep.
And yeah, it's a good
And a
way
world-
of showing the space. And when I add virtual staging to a listing, which I do it often.
Yeah.
I still add the photos of the empty room.
Right. I do both
Yeah.
back to back, like with virtual staging, without, with virtual staging, without, room
Because
by room.
I don't want it to be misleading. I don't want people to get there and be like, what happened?
Right.
So definitely that's it's a good tool. But so if anybody wants to talk more about staging, listing, selling, buying,
All the things real estate.
all of the things that we do, how would someone reach out to you?
Well, they can always give me a call or shoot me a text myself. 702-379-9948 is the easiest way to get a hold of me. So feel free to reach out, and if they want to get a hold of you.
702-308-2878.
Yep, and then you can always reach us on our link tree as well, which is realtycheck.vegas. If you go there, you'll have all of our socials, our emails, our contact information. We're very easy to get a hold of if you need real estate help.
That is absolutely true. And look at us, or look for us on the News 13. We'll be on the Morning Blend coming
Yes!
up on June 3rd.
Monday,
So-
June 3rd. Make sure you check us out on the Morning Blend. And if you miss us there, we're here every Thursday morning. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, join the tribe, stay up to date with what's happening in Las Vegas and local Las Vegas real estate news.
All right, guys. See you next week.
All right. Have a good week. Bye.
Bye.